Today we are finding 10 armor sets, weapons and shields you can grab right at the start of Elden Ring, including the highest physical damage spear in the game. Most of this gear is really aimed at knights, warriors and heavily armed classes, and obviously completionists. We'll be breaking down each armor, weapon and its secret abilities, or if it's worth using at all. Also, we'll be talking about how it compares to other weapons stat-wise. This is more of a series for people who want to collect every single weapon and armor in the game, so subscribe if you like that kind of content. But since many of the armor sets and weapons we'll be covering in this video are farmable and dropped by enemies after you kill them, it's worth increasing your discovery rate to make the farming process faster. Discovery rate is basically your chance to get drops from enemies, and it scales 1-to-1 off your arcane attribute, but you really don't want to level up your arcane attribute unless it's required by a weapon your character build is using. So instead, we can use free methods to boost our discovery chance dramatically. The fastest and easiest item to get is the silver pickled foulfoot. This is a consumable that increases your drop chance by another 50 points for 3 whole minutes. And you can very easily farm unlimited amounts of them by following my guide linked down below in the description. Secondly, we have the silver tier mask, which increases your drop chance by another 8 points while you're wearing it. And thirdly, we have the Silver Scarab Talisman, which increases your drop chance by another 75 points, though it's much harder to get. You can find guides on where to get all 3 of those items below in the description. After you've done that, we can start collecting some weapons, armor sets and shields. So we're going to be starting the game just over here at the first step resting spot of Grace, which is exactly where you start the game after the main tutorial. After that, we're going to go north up the pathway through this woodland all the way to the gatefront ruins. Now, once you arrive at the gatefront ruins, you're going to find 2 resting spots, one here and one to the east. This is the Agheel Lake North resting spot. That's where we're going to be starting from. So from this bonfire, you can see this is the gatefront ruins just in front of us, and we can see the Godricks Knight. There's only one of them at this location, and we want to go from that bonfire because he's quite easy just to solo from this area. So I'm using a mage to actually do this, but it's pretty easy to take this guy out using a mage or even a melee character. If you're using a melee character, I recommend just baiting out his attack like that and then coming up and backstabbing him from behind, and then we can just finish him off and he's dead. Now, as you can see, he's dropped something there, but I'm going to take out this normal soldier, and we can see he's got the Godricks Knight helm and also the Godricks Knight greaves. Now, I'm going to be using the silver pickled foulfoot, which temporarily increases item discovery and is the easiest item to get. So, before farming anything, I'm just going to go ahead and eat one of these. And now, as you can see, if I go to character stats, my discovery rate has increased to 159. So after you've taken out all of the enemies in the encampment and looted them all, you can just head back east to the resting spot just here and go ahead and rest it, and that'll respawn everyone once again. And then just ride back over and begin the whole process of farming these enemies repeatedly again. And as you can see, the silver pickled foulfoot on the top left there, it still remains active so long as you don't fast travel anywhere. And the Godricks Spear Knight here has a chance of dropping the following: the Partisan, the Gilded Greatshield, the Godricks Knight Armor, and the Godricks Knight Gauntlets. You can also let this character in the middle here blow his trumpet, like so, and that will trigger everyone in the area to come and help him. And then it's a really nice method of just getting everyone in one place so you can easily kill them all like this. And that's the way you can clear them and get all their drops super quickly if you can handle them all at once. Which will allow you to obtain the Godricks Soldier Armor set, Godricks Knight Armor set, Lordsworn Straight Sword and Shield, and also the Brass Shield very quickly. Next, we're going to go over the weapons and the armor sets from this first farming spot. Starting with the Lordsworn Straight Sword. Damage-wise, this weapon only has a weight of 9. And only has 2 less damage than the Claymore and Bastard Sword for its weight category. So the only reason you'll be using this over the other weapons will come down to the skill and moveset preferences that this sword gives. So essentially you just hold down left trigger and then you assume this sort of guard pose. And then if you light attack, you get the upward slash, like so, and it uses up some focus points as well. Or alternatively, you can strong attack, like this, and you get a running upwards thrust, like so. A very versatile weapon. Secondly, we have the brass shield. This is a 100% physical resistance shield, meaning you don't take damage when you're blocking. Interestingly, it's one of the physically widest and largest medium shields in the game. This is very important when it comes to blocking attacks from wider angles in Elden Ring. The drawback being that it has a weight of 7, making it the heaviest of all medium shields in the entire game. But it has some of the best magical resistances across the board. The drawback being it requires 16 strength to use efficiently, and it has no skill. Thirdly, we have the Lordsworn Greatshield, one of the lightest shields for its size and a decent physical resistance, but it is one of the lowest for a Greatshield in the game. It's really a very below average shield and you'll probably never bother using it. The Lordsworn shield also has its own skill as well. Breaks behind the shield before using body weight to ram foes while maintaining guarding stance. Weaker enemies will be shoved backwards and can even be staggered. And this is what that looks like, and it doesn't consume any FP either. Next we have the Godricks armor set, which is a 4-piece armor set. This is one of the better armor sets early game since it is more defensible than all the other starting armor sets. So as a quick early game grab, you can't go wrong with these decent defense stats, especially for the weight ratio, but it will quickly be replaced later on during the mid game. It's also a lot easier to farm than the knight armor set since there's so many of these guys to kill. Worn by soldiers loyal to Godrick the Grafted, made from durable iron, layered with a chainmail coif beneath. The surcoat depicts the distinct Erdtree and the Beast regions, an emblem of the golden lineage. Both are symbols of glory now past. Next we have the Godricks Knight armor set. Another 4-piece armor set, which is actually one of the best knight armor sets in Elden Ring. When compared to the stats of the other knight sets in the game, which basically have different color schemes, it comes out on top. Considering that you can obtain though the full set right at the start of the game here, it's a great option to get early, but rather annoying to farm since there's only a single knight you can farm it from, and he has a lower drop chance. But it looks incredibly cool with the shoulder-mounted chest shield, embellished with a 2-handed war axe, an emblem of the golden lineage, and also the feather duster helmet crafted of ashen hair. The plate armor is still somehow untarnished by the weathering of time though, so the armor keeps its rather knightly appeal. Next we have the Godrick Knight weaponry, starting out with the Partisan spear. This is actually the most powerful spear in the game when it comes to purely its physical base damage of 123, but obviously it requires a strength of 15 and a dexterity of 12 to actually wield it. But its moveset is absolutely fantastic. Obviously you have the thrusting light attack, which can be used also while blocking for added defensive aggression. The light attack is super fast and spammable with a really good range to it as well. If you want a very safe playstyle, this is definitely it. Secondly, you have the strong attacks, which are wide sweeping blows that easily clear and hit all of the mobs in front of you. And then obviously you have the jumping R1 thrust, which has a fantastic range and it's really fast as well. It's also very effective at staggering bosses. Then you obviously have the jumping heavy attack, which actually puts out a really small area of effect, kind of like a ground pound when you land. This weapon is simply fantastic and I adore it. But it gets better because the Partisan spear also has a skill called Impaling Thrust. This is a charged power attack that turns into a charging thrust, where you sort of charge at the enemy and then you spear them. But what's great is that it ignores the enemy's guard, so you can really catch people off guard by using it if they try and block. It only costs 14 focus points as well, so it's great for spamming at anyone who's hiding behind their shield. Secondly, you have the Gilded shield. This is a huge great shield with a great resistance across the board. It's very much a mid of the range great shield in terms of how good it is versus other great shields in Elden Ring. It's neither particularly special or notable though. Finally though, we have the Lordsworn Greatsword. But to acquire this weapon, you must come here on the map back to the gatefront ruin, just to the west at this resting spot of grace, and then you'll find the Lordsworn Greatsword at the back of this carriage just here, guarded by a soldier. It's just here. And also, before we talk about that weapon, if you open up the map again and then you place a little waypoint just over here, there's actually another weapon hidden in this black carriage just there. Just run around the edge of the ruin here over to that waypoint, and where these two guards are, you'll find another hidden chest. To take care of these guards, and then you can go ahead and loot this chest just here. And here you'll find the Flail. I'm sure you guys have already grabbed this one yourself though. Let's start out by talking about the Lordsworn Greatsword. This weapon is actually really versatile as well, and it can take you really far in the game, especially if you're using it with a strength build. It can be dual wielded along with the Claymore for big damage on your jumping power attacks. It also has a skill that only costs 8 FP called Upward Cut, which lets you absorb an enemy strike before uppercutting them with your blade to send them flying. It also does great damage on bosses as well, delivering lots of poise damage to stagger them, setting them up for another power attack or a critical hit. And also the low stance means that a lot of enemies will just kind of attack over you and just miss you completely. And then you can follow up with a strong attack with an upward strike. Now let's talk about the Flail. Now the Flail has a special skill called Spinning Chain, where it spins the striking part of the flail at high speed, kind of just like you're doing a power attack, and then it follows up with a normal or strong attack to link the momentum of that speed into a successive attack that just does more damage. Also, you cannot actually be parried using the Flail because of the ball and chain, and the iron spiked ball actually creates blood loss. So basically every time you hit the enemy, they'll build up stacks of blood loss, and once you fully stack it, it will give them a massive bleed damage. The jumping power attack on the Flail is very effective at staggering the enemy's poise very quickly, and the power attack can actually be charged up before being revealed. And the power attack can be charged up before being swung for big damage. So next we're going to be getting the Knight's Greatsword, which is a slightly more powerful version but slightly slower than the Lordsworn Greatsword. So back from the gatefront ruins at this resting spot just here, we're going to go directly north past this little ruined square. Just here we're going to put a map marker, and then after we jump up there, we're going to come all the way to the left, just where this woodland is. There's a little square just there. Put another marker just there. So you can see we're just here, then we're going north and then west to here. So this is the resting spot. And then we're going to go north to our first waypoint that you can see over there way in the distance. So just ride up these rocks here and head pretty much just straight north. And you're also going to see some enemies on the cliff top. And just to the right hand side, you'll see a wind area that if you jump on this, you can basically jump all the way up to the top of this cliff. You just need to use your mount. And now we're going to head over to our second waypoint that we also marked on the map, which is directly west from that position. So just head directly over here and hop up the rock just here. Carry on heading west, and then you'll arrive at a shack. Now at this shack, which is exactly where the waypoint is, we're going to get this resting spot of grace just here. Then open your map again. You can see this is the resting spot, the Warmaster's shack that we just unlocked. Now we're going to head down the road, and just in this little sort of cul-de-sac thing, we're going to put another waypoint just there. This is going to be the farming location that we're going to use. So from this resting spot of grace, we are basically just going to run all the way to the east, along this cliff to our right just here, and we're going to run all the way along the edge here, ignore the enemies, just hop over this wall like this, and then we're going to hop off our horse just here, and we're going to come round to the right hand side and enter sneak mode. Now right in front of us there's a knight, and he has a sword that we can farm specifically from this knight. Now I recommend just going for him specifically and stabbing him in the back by sneaking up behind him like this. So essentially we're going to keep coming back to this location and farming this one knight. Now if you can't kill him in one hit, or at least a couple of hits by two-handing your sword, you're probably going to want to take out the dogs first, because otherwise they're an absolute nightmare to deal with. They'll just repeatedly stagger you over and over again. Obviously it's a lot easier if you're a mage and you can just use AoE or spirit summons. And there we have it, the Knight's Greatsword, finally. Took me like 18 attempts to actually finally get this one. So just for comparison, we previously got the Lordsworn Greatsword. This, however, is the Knight Greatsword. It weighs 1 more weight. However, you can see it has 141 physical damage. Now, this is actually the highest physical damage for its weight category. But the Knight Greatsword also has the same skill as the Lordsworn Greatsword, which is the upward cut that I showed you guys earlier. As you can see, by comparison, the Knight Greatsword, with its 1 more weight, is actually longer than the Lordsworn Greatsword, as you can see, by about a foot or so. This means it has a longer reach and it is easier to hit enemies with. As you can see, it still has the spinning sprint attack, and it has these long, slow, light attacks. You can see attack-wise that it is a little bit slower compared to the Lordsworn Greatsword, which has a bit more speed considering it is lighter. As for the power attack, it goes overhead and then it goes for a sweeping blow. And then obviously we have the upward slash ability. And that's our 10 armor sets, weapons and shields, but there are tons more to find even in the starting area alone. So check out my next video in the playlist below to catch them all. I mean, find them all.